What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to Coffee with Dudes. We got Alex and myself, Matt. We got our coffee today.
What's up,
Yes,
dude?
we are
Yeah,
drinking it.
coffee. We're back into the early morning
There we go.
recordings, which for a while it felt odd because probably for what, like 6 months, 9 months, it was like coffee with dudes, but they never have coffee.
Yeah, I had like my Zevia or like my sparkling water. I
Yeah,
was can't drink caffeine this late in the day.
seriously,
Yeah,
it's like we'd record at like 3 or 4, and it's like I'm just not in a
yeah,
3 or 4
can't
p.m.
do it, bro.
coffee.
I'm a hard 12 p.m. cutoff kind of guy.
Mm.
I did it
Same.
the other day with a Celsius, and I was just staring at the ceiling, bro, when I was going to sleep. And I didn't realize I did it, but like I drank it at like 1:30, 2 p.m., something like that. And yeah, I was rough going to sleep. My body just can't shake it for some reason. So
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah. No need. No need.
yeah. Well, cool, man. Today's call, we are going to dive into, in today's pod, I should say, we're going to dive into the differences and nuances, and you guys can place yourself in one of these buckets too. But are you more of like a over analyzer? I need to know all the details first before I start. All my ducks need to be in a row and they need to be perfect. Or are you a kind of person that just sends it with whatever it is that you're deciding to do? And this could be any topic. So we just kind of want to discuss the different types of personalities, the different types of perspectives. We can relate it to the health and fitness industry for sure. But we were talking about it a little bit before we hopped on this call. But let's put ourselves in the perspective of what we think we are first initially. I think that'll help people kind of understand and give them a
Yeah.
better idea. So what are you, man? Like, what do you like to know everything first before you start? Or are you just kind of like, throw me in there, I'll figure it out?
I like to know a decent amount,
Yeah. Yeah.
honestly.
Yeah.
But like, I think there's a certain point where you can't really know anymore. And we were talking about this from the perspective of my job that I've been at here for a few months now, to where the training I've been in jobs where training was like 4 6 weeks long, and you learn everything. And this job was more or less like a few weeks of like shadowing the different roles that you'll be dealing with in the company, and learning from them, and learning what you're going to be doing, learning what the different like people in your territory are doing. And then you can kind of do that for as long as you want to, up to probably a month. But after a few weeks, I felt like I learned enough to where it's like I don't know how much more I can learn from these people without just doing the job,
Mm-hmm.
going out, meeting people, having things come up that I don't know so that I can get the answers to them. And naturally, you start seeing progress happen and success happen so much quicker, because now you're actually in my role, like sales, like now I'm actually talking to people, and they might not go great, but then I learn from that conversation. I'm like, oh, maybe I got to shift this. And then they ask me a question I don't know. It's like, okay, call the guy who's been doing this job for a little bit longer. What does this mean? Oh, okay, cool. Now I can register that. Now I can speak to that as an expert. And then you continue to do that. And then now a few months in, I'm still for months and months, I'm sure, going to have questions that pop up I don't know the answer to, but I feel like an expert. And I'm sure I come off as somebody who's done this job for years to the people I'm talking with on a daily basis, because I do have answers to most of the things that they have to ask.
That's awesome, dude. Yeah. And I think that's one of the best ways that you can possibly do it. And you can tell that you've gone through it and you've done trial and error. And it sounds like you've been the type of person that like tries to gather as much information as you possibly can. And I think we just naturally as humans feel like that. Like we want to know all the answers before we jump in and go take the test. I think that's like how we were conditioned and how we were
Yeah.
trained just growing up in the school system. But like there's something to be said about exactly what you're saying. Like I need to know a decent amount. And then the rest, I'm okay with not knowing it because I'll figure it out as I go. And those are more like golden nuggets as we go. And the cool thing about learning that way, and I'm exactly like this too, is like I'm going to remember that answer way more than if I were just to read it context, like in a book somewhere or in a document or a training file, and then try to recall that and then like bring it into a practical application situation. Like if somebody asks me a question, I don't know it yet, and I go and seek and I find and I ask for it, and then I get that answer, then it's going to stick so much more because I went through some hoops to get it. So I'm like, okay, I know that answer now. Like I don't have to go back and try to reference something. It's like more times than not, like that stuff's going to stick. So I feel like I'm the same way, man, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah. And the funny thing is, I used to be a lot different. Like when I started coaching, and maybe it's just like different things. Like this is I kind of was familiar, at least somewhat, with the industry that I'm in. And then, like I had a lot to learn, like, but it's not like a long process of learning necessarily. Like there's only so much stuff going on in this industry of like apartment complexes and contracting work. But I felt like in coaching, I had done stuff myself, but I had never coached people. And I felt like, and I think a lot of coaches get into this as well, is like you feel like you need to have every certification to to start coaching people,
Yeah.
which I know I don't listen to Ed Milet very much anymore, but I used to listen to a lot of his stuff and even used to be in his like mentorship program that he had.
Yeah.
And he always talked about how like as long as you know more than the person you're coaching, like your ability, you're able to help them. And a lot of times it's like people, it's like, oh, somebody lost 100 pounds. It's like, and they've let it, then it's stuck for 5 years. Like they've been like at the same weight for 5 years. It's like, well, you're more qualified to help like just about anybody than most people out there that are probably coaching. Cause like whatever worked for you. And it's not to say, I think some people get stuck in the fact that like, they're going to coach exactly the same for everybody, which is where coaching helps you. It's like you getting into it. It's like, oh shit, I can't coach this person the same as this person. Like they need a little bit more of XYZ. It's like all of those nuances start coming into play, but you would never know that if you didn't jump into the trenches and start trial error. What works for you? Ask questions to other coaches like, oh, what would you do in this situation? Now you're going to learn and grow and become better
Yeah.
as you go.
I think like putting yourself in that perspective of like, it's okay to not know all the answers when I dive into this. And like, I think oftentimes we think that, the person that we're coaching is going to say like, why am I investing money in this person if they don't know what they're talking about? Like we always think we're worst case scenarios, but I think there's something to be said about being honest and upfront and transparent if there's something that you don't know versus like faking it and like making something up and like steering this individual in the wrong direction. Like just be super transparent and just like, hey, that's a great question. I don't know. I'm going to figure out the answer for you. And I promise I'll get back to you. Like just being super upfront with
Yeah.
people. I think I know if I ask somebody or if I'm on the phone with somebody or like, even if I just like, I had to call my bank the other day and the guy was like, that's a great question. I don't know, but I'm going to find out for you. Let me talk to my higher ups or leadership. I was like, oh, okay, cool. I appreciate that versus him just like making something up and giving me false information just to feel like make himself feel better, So there's something to be said about just being truthful and honest if you don't know something. And it's just like, everybody's not going to know every single answer. And so like putting yourself in that perspective of like, it's okay to not know all the answers. Like we're human, but just showing the fact that you will seek it out, you will find it and you will get back to them. I think 9 times out of 10, people are going to be super appreciative of that versus you blowing smoke up somebody and just saying, oh yeah, do this or do that. And like, you don't have any clue. You just want to throw words out there and hopefully they stick.
Exactly, dude. And I think as well, like you mentioned the importance of like surrounding yourself with either people in your company, in your role that have been doing it longer, like experienced people. If you're in coaching, like surrounding yourself with other coaches, especially people that have been doing it longer and have been successful and have like successful like client stories. Surrounding yourself in like groups, like we met in Nutrition Coaching Institute, right? And like there's like their education was second to none, but also like the community that you created from going to their events and like being in their certifications and like having some like people that you could finally chat to. Because I think for me right away, I felt like lost. I was like, God, I haven't been doing this. Like I'm at these things, and like I think a lot more people felt that way. And
Mm-hmm.
like when you could like start to meet, and then it's like, oh, like I remember Nick and I, who started the podcast initially, like we met at one of the first, or the first coaching conference that I went to, Coaching Con. Like it was like one of the first. I think it was the first Coaching Con that they did, and then we started like a weekly call to like bounce ideas off each other and like ask questions to each other, and then all of a sudden that led to the podcast. But I learned a lot from that, and then from the podcast, like having other coaches on and like oh shit, like I can take a nugget here, and I can use that.
Yeah.
Then also we talked about before here the importance of like if you really want to get good at coaching, especially like get coached,
Yeah.
a good coach. Like I had some people who listen to this podcast maybe know Mike Milner. He's one of the biggest, coaches out there when it comes to coaching like health, fat loss, but also coaching other coaches to be better coaches. And I got into his program like relatively early on in my coaching career. And I wasn't coached by Mike himself, but I had a great coach for 6 months that I learned more in that 6 month about being a better coach myself than I had learned that I probably learned in the other like 3 years that I was doing it as
Yeah.
well. So that
Yeah.
made a lot
Getting
of
coached is like a game changer because it takes away like this wall that you have of like, whether it's pride, whether it's ego, like whatever it is, that's completely stripped away because you're fully open and receptive to like learning new things. And when you put yourself in that kind of realm, you're going to absorb so much information that, you didn't know, or that you can't necessarily just get from like reading a book or reading some training documents and things like that. It's not to say that you can't learn things from that, but like when you actually sign up to be like, hey, I'm going to be coached by somebody who's going to take a unbiased look at me and like give me honest feedback, like when you can have those kind of conversations with somebody who's actually coaching you, it'll make you a better coach because you're going like, oh, okay, I see the approach that they do. Like I took the patterns of like what we were doing in our program, like anytime we talk to like Mike or Caleb or anybody like that, like how they set it up and how they structured their calls. I started doing that with my clients because I was like,
yeah.
it's way more efficient. I remember learning from Caleb, like the PCP, the praise, correct, praise, like that format. Like when you're talking to clients, it's like sometimes when it's tough that you have to give them like difficult feedback. He's like, how do you do that, but also keep them on a high note? And he's like, well, just follow the PCP. And I was like, what is that? And he's like, just like I did with you, where I said, you're doing this great. Here's where I would readjust or focus here. Continue to keep doing this. So it was PCP, praise, correct, and then praise. So you kind of like sandwich the thing. And then I started thinking, I was like, oh man, that's cool. I'm going to start doing that with my clients. And that was something that I was coached on that my coach told me. So I was like, okay, cool. I started doing that with my clients and it worked really well. I was like, cool. Cause you get to compliment them, get to give them the feedback, and then you leave them on a high note so that they have some actionable game plan to go, and execute on, but they don't leave our meeting or conversation feeling defeated, but they still get that feedback of what they can improve on. So yeah, that was just a little small nugget that I was coached on that I then took into my clients and like super helpful, man. So getting coached is a game changer.
It's huge. I think that can help like in coaching, leadership, really everything.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, this is a good topic because you see people that like for years and years and years try to gather and gather and gather more information and really like at that point of getting just a little bit of information and enough knowledge, like the amount that you learn from just getting in the trenches is second to none. And so hopefully, whether this is in like a job, like a coaching, like if you're going in and you're trying to lose weight or get in better shape yourself, like instead of like sitting there and watching videos for months on end and trying to figure out the exact right time to do it, just like start doing something today. Like we talk about it so much, it's like one habit, two habits a day. Like it doesn't have to be crazy. Like just try to eat a little bit more protein and go on walks every day. You're going to get in better shape, right? If try to work out 3 times a week, like just continue to add these little things in and you're going to figure out what works best for you. Like you're going to figure it out through that trial and error. And then instead of in 5 months just starting, you'll be well on your way to your goal in 5 months.
That's
And so
exactly how it works, right? Like we think we're going to learn all the information and then walk into whatever it is that we're doing and we're going to hit it out of the park and it's going to be perfect. It's like the training, all the knowledge that you do beforehand doesn't take into consideration the practical application of actually doing. So you're better off just taking one or two good ideas like you were just talking about and actually implementing them, like put them into play. And then it's going to open up all this other opportunity for you to learn new things, to go, oh, I wasn't expecting that to happen. Like, this is what I do when this occurs. Like, so it's going to open up the actual practical piece, which is actually the doing part, which is what we're studying for, learning for, trying to absorb information in the first place, is so that we can actually do the thing. So I think there's there's something to be said about like, yes, educate yourself on whatever the topic is, but also just throw yourself in there and be super and allow yourself to be humbled. And I think that way it's always like, I forget the quote and I'm gonna totally butcher it, but I remember talking about like I was watching one of the baseball games the other day, and they were like, the hitters that improve the fastest are the ones that are not afraid to like look stupid. Like they're not afraid to go up there. They're not afraid to strike out. They're not, they're going to go up there and be aggressive, but they're going to learn something. They're going to get feedback, and then they're going to implement, and they're going to repeat. The guys that are up there, they're like scared, they're tentative, they're thinking, they're overanalyzing, they're thinking too much. Like we've both been there, right? Like here comes the ball, all of a sudden that 90 looks like it's 97 real quick.
Yeah.
If you're overthinking, you're slow, like you're trying to swing too hard. And it's just like, dude, take one thing, take it with you to the plate, implement it, execute. If you swing, you miss, whatever, like that's feedback. That gives you answers. Now you have data. Now you can go and back to your game plan, right? Reiterate, watch it, do it again, repeat, and over and over and over. And it's the same thing with everything we do. If we take that approach, I think we'll be successful in whatever we do.
Of course. Yeah. Couldn't agree more. Couldn't agree more. And yeah, it's like that. Like you can still educate yourself, but you can educate yourself while you're taking action, and understand like it's not going to go perfect. Like that's what we sometimes set is like, oh, this like perfect track from A to B. It's not going to go that way, but you're going to learn a hell of a lot about yourself and a hell of a lot about what you're trying to do. And then you're going to continue to get there, and you're going to figure out that like what works for other people doesn't work for you. And you're going to figure out the best way for you to do those things. So hopefully this has been helpful. We appreciate you guys. As always, this is a really, really good one to just share with somebody that you love. Again, friend, coworker, family member. Send it their way. Make sure you're subscribed to the podcast. Every Wednesday we are dropping it 6 a.m. Pacific time. And we hope you guys have a great rest of the day. We'll be talking to you soon.